I woke to the sound of a door I'd locked being opened. For 3 seconds, I didn't move, didn't breathe, just lay there in the dark of a bedroom that still didn't feel like mine, wearing a ring I'd signed my name to earn, and listened to footsteps cross the hardwood. Heavy, deliberate, male. Then the lights came on, and Tiago Moretti stepped into view. He looked like he'd walked through fire and back. His clothes were torn, blood streaked his collar, some fresh, some dried to rust. His jaw was shadowed with weeks of stubble, and his eyes were winter. But it wasn't the blood or the torn clothes that made my breath catch. It was the sheer presence of him, the way he filled the doorway, the controlled violence in every line of his body, like a storm given human form. I hated that I noticed. "Interesting performance you've been giving," he said, his voice soft and lethal. Low, the kind of voice that slid under skin and made you forget how to think. 3 weeks of playing Mrs. Moretti. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. He crossed the room in 3 strides, braced his hands on either side of me, close enough that I could see the split knuckles, the fresh cuts across his palms, and leaned down until I could smell gunpowder and exhaustion and something darker. Something that should have terrified me, and did, but not only in the way it should have. "You were the last person to see me before I disappeared," he continued. "The man watching your shop. He was one of mine. Someone got to him 30 minutes after I left your boutique, shot him in an alley 2 blocks away." My throat closed. My heart was hammering so hard I wondered if he could hear it. "So tell me, wife." The word was poison in his mouth, but the way it sounded, rough, dark, possessive, even in accusation, did something to my pulse I couldn't afford. "What exactly did you sell besides handbags? Who did you call the moment I walked out your door? And why should I believe you're not the reason I spent 3 weeks in a basement in Gary with a gun to my head?" I stared at this man I didn't know, wearing his ring, trapped in his home, accused of a betrayal I didn't commit. And I hated that even through the terror, I noticed the line of his shoulders, the way his throat moved when he spoke, the heat coming off him. Wrong answer. He didn't move, didn't blink. His gaze held mine like a physical thing. "Try again." My heart was hammering so hard I could barely form words. "I didn't call anyone. I sold you a gift. You left at 4:47. That's the entire interaction." "Then explain how my man was dead 30 minutes later." "I can't. Can't or won't. Can't." I forced myself to meet his eyes, dark, furious, and far too aware. "Because I don't know. You asked me about the man watching my shop. I told you someone had been standing there for 20 minutes. You looked. You didn't seem worried. You left." He studied me like I was a contract written in a language he didn't trust. This close, I could see the exhaustion in the lines around his eyes, the way his jaw was set like he was holding himself together through pure will. I shouldn't have noticed, shouldn't have cared. "Start from the beginning," he said finally, his voice dropping even lower. "Tell me how you ended up in my bed wearing my name." The way he said my bed made something low in my stomach tighten. I shoved the feeling down and started talking. 3 weeks ago, I didn't know this man's name. I knew the weight of it. Everyone in Chicago knew the weight of the Moretti name. But I'd never seen his face, never heard his voice, never imagined I'd be explaining to 4 men in $1,000 suits why their boss's last known location was my back fitting room. It was Sunday night, September 22nd. I'd been closing out the register when the first black SUV pulled up outside Marin & Co. Then the second. Then the third. I knew before they walked in. You don't spend 2 years building a business in Chicago's upscale district without learning to read a threat. The bell chimed. 4 men entered, tailored, silent, and utterly wrong for my aesthetic. The one in front had silver at his temples and a signet ring that caught the track lighting. "Hello in Marin?" "That's me." I kept my hands visible on the counter. "We're closed, but if you have an appointment tomorrow." Tiago Moretti was here last Monday. 6 days ago. "Yes," I said carefully. "He came in for a private consultation, left at 4:47. And then? And then I had 2 more appointments, closed at 7 and went home. He disappeared 6 blocks from your shop. Phone went dark. His detail lost him in River North. We haven't heard from him in 6 days." The shop felt smaller suddenly. 4 men, one exit behind them. "I'm sorry," I said, "but I don't understand what that has to do with—" "You were the last confirmed person to see him. Then you'll want the security footage. We have it. Took us 6 days to track his movements backward from River North. Your shop was the last clean sighting." The door chimed again. The woman who entered wore authority like a second skin. Black trousers, cream silk blouse, and eyes that cataloged everything. Her face was his face, refined and calculating. "Show me the timeline," she said. Silver Ring stepped aside. She walked straight to my counter. "Allow and Marin, my brother came to you for a gift. Brother, so this was family. This was power that didn't need to announce itself. Yes. For our niece, Gabriella, her quinceañera." I nodded. She smiled, sharp and cold. "Gabriella turned 16 last year. Her quinceañera was in May." My stomach dropped. He'd lied. "I didn't know that," I said. "No, you wouldn't." She leaned against my counter. "But you noticed the man watching your shop. You told Tiago." "We reviewed the footage with audio," she added, reading my face. "You have good instincts, Miss Marin. That makes you either useful or dangerous." She pulled out her phone, showed me 3 photos, 3 men I didn't recognize. "These are the people who've been asking about you in the last week. They work for families who would very much like to know where Tiago is, and they believe you might have that information. I don't. That won't stop them from asking." She pocketed the phone. "Tiago's disappearance creates a vacuum. Vacuums invite chaos. What do you want from me?" She gestured to Silver Ring. He opened a garment bag. Inside, a ring. Simple platinum band. "You're going to be his wife." I stared at her. "Excuse me." "For public consumption only. Tiago's been intensely private about his personal life. No one outside the family knows he's unmarried. You'll attend certain events. Be seen. Answer questions with carefully prepared statements. Project the image of a man who's exactly where he's supposed to be, with his wife, managing his interests. I met him once for 45 minutes. Then you'll learn quickly." She set the ring on my counter. "You'll be compensated, protected. Your boutique will be secure. Your staff will be safe. And if I refuse? Then you'll be explaining to 3 different organizations why you were my brother's last known contact. How long do you think you'd last?" I looked at the ring, at the woman who held my survival in her hands. "How long do I have to play wife?" "Until the situation stabilizes, until we find him." "I want terms," I said. Her eyebrows lifted. "Protection includes my building and my staff. I control all statements about my business. No one uses Marin & Co. for operations without my explicit approval. And when this ends, I walk away clean. No debts, no entanglements." She smiled. "My brother chose well, even if he didn't know it yet." She pulled out a contract and set it on the counter with a pen. I signed my name and felt the trap close. "His apartment is in Lincoln Park. You'll move in tonight." "Tonight?" "There are already eyes on your building." She collected the contract. "You're Eloin Moretti now. Start acting like it." They moved me like I was cargo. The apartment was steel and glass and floor-to-ceiling windows, showing Chicago glittering below. It smelled like him, or what I imagined him to smell like based on 45 minutes. Expensive cologne, leather, something dark I couldn't name. I hated that I noticed. Bianca arrived at 2 a.m. Charcoal suit, no patience, and a phone she handed me like a leash. Questions go through me, statements go through me. Memorize the cover story. Business trip. Eastern Europe, limited contact. Expected back within the month. Friday came too fast. The charity gala at the Hamptons Hotel. Bianca sent a dress, midnight blue silk that cost more than my quarterly lease. I walked into that ballroom wearing a stranger's ring and learned what it meant to be watched. "Mrs. Moretti, I didn't know Tiago had married. We kept it private. How romantic. And where is he tonight?" "Managing interests overseas. He sends his regrets." I survived by staying near the edges, answering questions with careful vagueness, trying not to think about the man whose bed I was sleeping in, the man whose voice I kept hearing in my head. Low, controlled, dangerous. The second week was worse. A business dinner at a steakhouse everyone important loved. I sat beside an empty chair and fielded questions about his timeline, his plans, his health. And I started to imagine him. The way he'd move through these rooms. The way people would shift in his presence. The power he'd carry without saying a word. I learned to read the room for threats disguised as concern, but I also found myself wondering what it would be like to have that kind of presence, that kind of control. My boutique began to suffer. Missed appointments, delayed orders. One client, a regular who'd commissioned a piece for Milan Fashion Week, canceled entirely. "You seem different," she'd said. Distracted. I was. I was living two lives, wearing a stranger's ring, sleeping in his sheets, and I couldn't stop thinking about 45 minutes in my boutique when a stranger had looked at beadwork like he was checking structural integrity. By the third week, I'd almost gotten comfortable. The lies came easier. The ring felt less foreign. I attended a charity luncheon, smiled through a private viewing, let photographers capture me leaving his building, proof of life, proof of normalcy. The family began to trust me. Lucas started asking my opinion. Bianca approved statements without revision. Isabella, the sister, actually thanked me once. "You're holding the line, that's all we need." I started to believe I might survive this. Then came Wednesday night. "That's how," I said, meeting his eyes in the present. "Your sister needed stability. I needed protection. We made a deal." "And you just agreed?" Tiago's hands were still braced on either side of me. This close, I could see the pulse in his throat, the way his chest moved with each breath. "Walked into my life, my home, my name, just like that?" "I negotiated terms first." Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe respect. "What terms?" "Protection for my building and staff. Control over public statements about my business. A clean exit." Isabella agreed to that? Yes. Then she was more desperate than I thought. He pushed off the bed finally, putting space between us that I absolutely did not notice feeling relieved about. Or disappointed. Both. I felt both, and I hated it. He walked to the window, and I could finally breathe. Could finally think without his presence overwhelming every rational thought. "What did you do after I left your shop that Monday?" he asked. I had 2 more appointments. Sarah Ashford at 5:15, wedding trousseau consultation. Patricia Volkov at 6:30, hem adjustment. I closed at 7, reconciled the register, went home. He pulled out a burner phone. His hands were steady despite the cuts across his knuckles. Strong hands, dangerous hands. I looked away. He typed one-handed. Waited. "Ashford checks out," he typed again. "Volkov? Russian, married to a tech investor, client for 8 months. He waited longer this time. She exists. Because I'm telling the truth. Or because you're very good at this." He pocketed the phone, turned to face me. "Tell me about the man across the street." I noticed him around 4:30. He was standing in the same spot, not shopping, not moving, just watching. "I mentioned it to you when you were looking at the beadwork." "What did I say?" "Nothing. You looked. You didn't seem concerned. You finished choosing the gift and left." "Did you see which direction I went?" "North, toward Michigan Avenue." "Did anyone follow you home that night?" "Not that I noticed." "Not that you noticed," he repeated. "That's not the same as no." "I know." He crossed back to me, and my pulse jumped. He moved like a predator, all controlled power and lethal grace. It shouldn't have been attractive. It was terrifying. It was both. "Do you know what they did to me?" His voice was quiet, controlled. That same low register that made my skin prickle. 3 weeks in a concrete room in Gary. Gun to my head every time I gave an answer they didn't like. Then another week getting back here without being tracked. My chest tightened. Not just from fear, from something else. Something that recognized what survival cost and respected the man who'd paid it. They wanted names, accounts, access codes, locations. He turned back to me. But mostly, they wanted to know who'd sold me out. Because someone told them exactly where I'd be and exactly when to move. It wasn't me. "You were the last person to see me. That doesn't make me guilty. No." He sat down on the edge of the bed, still too close, still too dangerous, and now I could smell him. gunpowder and exhaustion and something underneath that was just him. But it makes you the only lead I have. I should have moved, put distance between us, but I was frozen by his proximity and the intensity of his focus. Here's what's going to happen, he said. You're going to keep playing wife. You're going to smile at the gala Friday night. You're going to answer questions about where I've been. And while you're doing that, you're going to help me figure out who actually set me up. Why would I help you if you think I'm guilty? Because if you're innocent, you'll want to prove it. And if you're guilty, he leaned in, his voice dropping even lower, close enough that I could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. Then you'll slip eventually, and I'll be watching. I should have been terrified. I was terrified. But I was also angry, and beneath that, buried deep where I didn't want to acknowledge it, I was aware of him, of the way the air changed when he moved, of the heat of his body this close. I didn't betray you, I said, holding his gaze even though everything in me wanted to look away. I didn't even know you. I sold you a gift. That's all. Then prove it. He stood, breaking whatever spell had wrapped around us. Friday night, the Rosen Hotel, another charity event. You'll go, you'll be seen, and you'll pay attention to everyone who approaches you. You want me to be bait. I want you to be useful. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the frame. His shoulders were impossibly broad in the dim light. Bianca will brief you tomorrow. Get some sleep. You look terrible. I was asleep before you broke into my room. My room, he corrected, turning to look at me over his shoulder. My apartment. My name on your finger. Don't forget that. The way he said my made heat pool low in my stomach. He left. The door clicked shut, and I sat there in the dark, wearing a stranger's ring, trapped in a stranger's life, my skin still prickling from his proximity, and realized I'd just agreed to hunt a traitor alongside the man who thought I might be one. The man whose presence I felt like a physical weight even after he'd left the room. I didn't sleep after he left. I sat in the dark and ran through every moment of that Monday 3 weeks ago, every detail, every word, trying to find the thing I'd missed, the thing that had gotten a man killed and put Tiago Moretti in a basement with a gun to his head. By the time dawn broke, I had nothing. At 7 a.m., I heard movement in the apartment. Footsteps, running water, the smell of coffee. I got up, pulled on the silk robe Bianca had left, expensive, not mine, and walked out to find Tiago standing in the kitchen. He'd showered, changed into dark jeans, black Henley. The blood was gone, but the bruises were visible now. His knuckles split, a cut along his jaw. He looked up when I entered. Coffee, the casual domesticity, was jarring. Yes. He poured a second cup, slid it across the counter. Our fingers brushed, brief, accidental. My skin registered it anyway. We stood in silence, drinking coffee like this was normal, like he hadn't accused me of betrayal hours ago. Bianca will be here at 9, he said finally, to brief you on Friday. What am I looking for? Anyone who's too interested. Anyone who asks the wrong questions. Your family doesn't know you're alive? Only Bianca and Luca. No one else. He set down his cup. Someone in my organization sold me out. Someone close. Until I know who, everyone's suspect. Including me. Especially you. He studied me. But you're also the only person I know wasn't in my inner circle 3 weeks ago, which makes you either the threat or the safest person in the room. That's a gamble. I'm good at reading people. And what do you read from me? That you're either exactly what you appear to be, wrong place, wrong time, or you're the best liar I've ever met. Which do you think? I haven't decided yet. The apartment buzzer sounded. Tiago moved fast, hand going to his back, predatory grace that made my mouth go dry. He checked the security screen, relaxed. Bianca. She arrived 60 seconds later, took one look at Tiago, and stopped. You're alive. Observant as always. Does Isabella know? No, only you and Luca. He gestured to the table. What's the setup for Friday? Bianca pulled out her tablet. The Rosen, Children's Hospital benefit. 3 families will have representatives there. Castellano, Dvorak, Kwan. All 3? Something shifted in his expression. They've been circling since you disappeared. Aggressive. Your sister's been holding them with the wife story, but they're testing boundaries. Then we give them something to test. Tiago looked at me. The Prague story won't hold past this event. Victor has people there who'll check. We need to shift the narrative now. To what? The truth. Or close enough. His voice went hard. I was taken. Held 3 weeks in Gary. Escaped. Spent another week getting back without being tracked. No Prague, just abduction and survival. That's showing weakness, Bianca said. That's showing I survived. And it makes whoever took me look like they failed. He turned to me. You'll need to be ready to shift the story mid-event if someone pushes too hard on Prague. How do I know when? I'll tell you. How? Bianca pulled out a tiny earpiece. One-way communication. He can hear everything you say. If you need him, he'll use the emergency override to speak to you. She fitted it carefully. Can you hear me? She said into her phone. A pause. Good, he confirms. Knowing Tiago would hear every word I said should have made me nervous. Instead, it felt like backup. The next 48 hours were brutal drilling. Names, faces, relationships, territory maps. Tiago watched from the corner, silent, still, utterly focused. His attention felt like weight. It made me sharper, made me want to prove I could handle this. I hated that I cared what he thought. Thursday afternoon, a stylist arrived with dresses. The black is classic, the burgundy is bold, the emerald is memorable. I held up the emerald. Rich green silk. If I was walking into a room full of predators, I wanted them to see me coming. That one, Tiago said from the corner. I turned. He was looking at me with an expression I couldn't read. Why? Because you're thinking tactically. He walked over, took the hanger, held the dress against me. His knuckles brushed my collarbone. His eyes dropped to where he'd touched me. Then back to my face. It'll work, he said, voice rougher. He handed it back and left the room. Friday morning, he was gone. A note on the counter. Bianca picks you up at 7. I'll be close. I touched the note, then folded it like an idiot. At 7, Bianca arrived with Luca. He's already at the Rosin, she said quietly, listening. The Rosin was lit up. Photographers, red carpet. I stepped out and smiled for cameras. Let them see exactly what we wanted them to see. Inside, the ballroom was crystal and champagne and power. I spotted Dmitri Castellano immediately. Victor Dvorak near the windows. Grace Kwan in the back. Alawan. Isabella appeared. You look stunning. Thank you. Has there been any news? She didn't know. Tiago was letting his own sister worry. Nothing yet, I said. But I wanted to be here, to show stability. You're doing well. Be careful tonight. Dmitri started moving toward me. Showtime. Mrs. Moretti. He kissed my hand. Radiant as always. We moved to a quieter corner. I heard your husband had trouble in Prague, he said casually. I hope everything's resolved. Business disputes get heated. But yes, Tiago handled it. 3 weeks is a long time to be out of contact. You must have been concerned. I was, but he's back now. Is he? Because I haven't seen him. Usually when a man returns from a difficult situation, he makes himself visible. He's been recovering. From what exactly? I don't discuss my husband's business, Mr. Castellano. Dmitri. And I'm not asking about business. I'm asking as a friend. He's fine. You're very loyal, but loyalty can be dangerous if it's misplaced. He touched my elbow lightly. If something has happened to Tiago, people who care about you might want to know, so they can help. The threat wrapped in silk. I appreciate your concern, but there's nothing to worry about. I hope you're right. He walked away. I exhaled slowly, one down. Victor Dvorak appeared beside me. Careful. You look like you've seen a ghost. Just startled. Victor Dvorak. He didn't release my arm. I've been trying to reach your husband for 2 weeks. Where exactly has he been? Prague primarily. Business travel. Interesting. My people in Prague didn't see him. My stomach dropped. In my ear, I felt Tiago's presence. Then they weren't looking in the right places. Maybe he wasn't in Prague at all. Victor leaned closer. Your husband disappeared for 3 weeks. No one saw him. And now he's not showing his face. He's sending his wife instead. which makes me wonder, is he back? Or are you just very good at playing pretend? He's back. Prove it. I don't need to prove anything to you. You might want to. Because if people start thinking Tiago's not in control, that his organization is run by his sister and his boutique owner wife, things could get unstable. The way he said wife made anger flash through me. Tell your husband to call me, if he can. He walked away. I needed air. Outside on the terrace, Grace Kwan appeared with champagne. You handled Victor well. That takes nerve. Or ignorance, she smiled. You're not ignorant, you're careful. I wanted to warn you. Her voice stopped me. Whatever story Bianca coached you on, Prague, business disputes, it won't hold much longer. Too many questions. And when they get loud enough, someone will look for real answers. There are real answers. Are there? Your husband disappeared for a month. No one disappears that long, unless something went very wrong. So I'll ask, where is he really? I didn't answer. Be careful, Mrs. Moretti. The people closest to you are often the most dangerous. She left. Tiago's voice came through the earpiece. Emergency override, rougher than before. You did well, all three probed. Classic pattern. Go back inside. Let them see you're not rattled. I am rattled. I know, but they can't. The warmth in his voice made something shift in my chest. I went back inside, smiled, circulated, played perfect wife. But I noticed everything. Dimitri's phone checks, Victor positioning himself to see entrances, Grace talking to a man I didn't recognize. At 10, Isabella found me. You should go. You've done enough. Luca drove me, but not to Lincoln Park. To an industrial building, underground garage, freight elevator. The doors opened to a loft. Tiago stood by the windows. You can go, he told Luca. We were alone. Why here? The apartment might be compromised. I won't go back tonight. He gestured to a table covered in photos. Tell me everything. I described the interrogations, body language, conversations. Grace spent time with someone I didn't recognize. Older, graybeard. Tiago pulled a photo. Him? Yes. Anthony Russo. Supposed to be retired. If he's at a public event with Grace, that's a problem. Why didn't Bianca brief me on him? Because he's off book. No recent photos. Probably came as someone's +1. He made notes. Grace has good surveillance. Probably knows about Bianca coaching you. That's how she read you so well. Victor said his people didn't see me in Prague. The story's breaking down. Which is why we're shifting to the truth tomorrow. I was taken. Held in Gary. Escaped. It makes me look human and makes them look like they failed. When do we tell people? Monday. Smaller event. Controlled crowd. We test the new story there. He pulled another photo. You said Dimitri kept checking his phone. Yes, 5 times. He's waiting for orders, not running the operation. Tiago paused. Victor touched you. My arm, intimidation. If he touches you again, I can handle Victor. I know you can, but you shouldn't have to. The protective edge in his voice did something to my pulse. What happens now? Now you keep playing wife. Monday night, smaller gathering. We shift to the truth there. And you? I stay dead a little longer. Watch. Wait. Figure out who thought they could bury me. He moved closer. Not threatening, just closing distance. You've been doing well. Better than expected. Is that a compliment? Recognition of competence. His gaze held mine. Are you still trying to prove innocence? Or have you started trying to survive? I thought about the past 3 weeks. The lies, the risks. The way I'd started caring what this man thought. Trying to survive. Good. That's the only way through. And when we find who set you up? Then you get your clean exit. You'll let me walk away? If. You've earned it. But first, you help me finish this. The elevator dinged. Luca was back. I walked to the elevator, stopped. Why did you really come to my boutique that day? Tiago was silent. Because someone I trusted told me to. Said you were discreet. That it would be safe. My blood went cold. Who? I don't know yet. But when I find out, you'll know. I stepped into the elevator. Elowen. I looked up. You did well tonight. Really well. The doors closed, and I realized whoever set this trap had used me as bait, and that somewhere between the earpiece and his voice and the way he'd said my name, the line between survival and something else had blurred. Saturday morning, I woke in a safe house I didn't recognize. Tiago had sent Luca back for me at 3 a.m. New location, new security protocols. The apartment in Lincoln Park was off limits until he cleared it. I'd slept in my clothes on a leather couch, while armed men rotated shifts outside the door. This was my life now. By noon, Bianca arrived with coffee and a new briefing. Monday night, the Meridian Society. 50 people max, very intimate. Castellano will be there. Grace. Victor. She set down her tablet. This is where we shift the story. From Prague to the truth. Close enough. Tiago was taken, held in Gary. He escaped. The family kept it quiet to avoid showing weakness while he recovered. Now he's ready to resurface. And people will believe that. They'll believe what makes sense. A month-long disappearance? That's abduction territory. Him sending his wife to hold the line while he recovered. That's smart strategy. Bianca pulled up photos. These are the people who need to hear it first. Dimitri, Grace, Victor. What if someone asks about the boutique visit? Bianca's expression darkened. That's the piece we're still working on. Someone set that meeting. Someone who knew his schedule well enough to redirect him. We have 3 suspects, all inner circle. She left. I sat in the anonymous safe house and thought about being used as bait. About someone pulling strings I hadn't even known existed. Sunday passed in preparation. Tiago appeared late afternoon. Different safe house, new phone, running his own investigation. Luca will bring you to the club at 6:45 tomorrow, he said. I'll meet you at the entrance. We walk in together. And if someone asks where you've been, I tell them enough of the truth. He looked at me. Stay close during the event. Don't leave my sight. Why? Because if whoever set this up realizes we're on to them, you become a liability they need to solve. How thoughtful. I'm a thoughtful man. His mouth almost curved. You'll need a different dress. Something that says we've been through a war zone and we're still standing. Bianca will handle it. Get some rest. Monday's going to be long. He left, and I realized I was learning him. The shifts in his voice, the way he moved when calculating versus when angry. Monday at 6, a stylist, arrived with a black dress, structured, high neck with an open back, elegant armor. At 6:30, Luca drove me to the Meridian Society. Tiago was waiting at the entrance, dark suit, perfectly tailored, looking every inch the man who'd survived fire. He saw me and went still. That works, he said quietly. He offered his arm. I took it. The contact felt different than it should have. Less like performance, more like choosing a side. We walked in together. The room went quiet. Then Dimitri Castellano started clapping, slow, mocking. Tiago Moretti, back from the dead. Not dead, just dealing with complications. Tiago's voice carried. 3 weeks ago, someone made a move. They thought they could bury me and Gary and carve up my territory while my organization scrambled. They were wrong. The room went still. I'm here. My wife is here. My organization is intact. And whoever made that move is going to regret it. Grace Kwan appeared from the back. That's quite a story, Tiago. Care to fill in the details? When I'm ready. For now, all you need to know is I'm back. Operational. And very interested in who's been making moves during my absence. Victor Dvorak pushed off the wall. Some of us were trying to keep things stable. Your sister wouldn't take calls. Your wife gave vague answers. What were we supposed to think? You were supposed to wait. Tiago's tone could have cut glass. Patience doesn't pay my crews. Neither does overreach. Tiago moved into the center, pulling me with him. Let me be clear. During the past 4 weeks, certain people tested boundaries, made offers, poached personnel. I'm aware of every single move. Consider this your one warning. And if we don't, Dimitri asked? Then I stopped being patient. Isabella appeared in the doorway. She saw Tiago and stopped dead. You're alive. Yes, we'll talk. Later, privately. She crossed the room, fury in every line, but she nodded and stepped back. Grace approached. Someone in this room knows more than they're saying, Tiago. Until you tell us who took you and why, we're all wondering if you brought the problem with you. The problem was always here. Someone I trusted sold me out. Someone close. Victor moved closer. And your wife? Where does she fit? She was the last person to see you before you disappeared. Convenient timing. Tiago's stillness went dangerous. Careful, Victor. I'm just asking questions everyone's thinking. Then let me answer. Tiago's voice dropped to something lethal. My wife had nothing to do with my abduction. She's been holding the line. She's under my protection. If anyone suggests otherwise or makes a move toward her, I'll consider it a declaration. The room went cold. Victor held his gaze, then smiled. Just clarifying positions. Grace lingered. You're very protective of her, Tiago. One might even say possessive. One might say I protect what's mine. The way he said mine made something tighten low in my stomach. Interesting, Grace said. I look forward to seeing how this plays out. Tiago pulled me toward a quieter corner. His jaw was tight. You okay? Yes. Are you? Victor just publicly questioned you. That was a power play. He scanned the room. Someone's about to make a move. I can feel it. Tiago? The lights went out. Total darkness. Shouts. Crashing. Tiago's hand locked on my wrist. Stay with me. Gunfire. Outside. Single shot. The room erupted. Tiago pulled me behind a column, his body between me and the chaos. Don't move. Don't make a sound. Emergency lights kicked in. Dim red. Luca appeared. Exit compromised. Shooter on the roof across the street. They waited until I was visible. This was a setup, I said. Yes. He looked at Luca. Get her out. North exit. 2-car rotation. Don't go anywhere I've used this week. What about you? I'm staying. I need to see who else was expecting this. Tiago. Go. He touched my face. Brief. Trust me. Then he was gone. Luca grabbed my arm. Now. We moved fast. North exit. Service corridor. Underground garage. 2 cars. Luca put me in the second one. We drove 20 minutes. Switched cars twice. Ended at a warehouse near the river. Inside. Bianca with a laptop. You okay? Define okay? She pulled up security footage. The shot was a warning. Deliberately missed. Someone wanted chaos to see how Tiago reacted. She showed me 3 clips. Dimitri Castellano, checking his phone at 7:42 p.m., 30 seconds before the lights went out. Victor moving toward the exit at 7:43 p.m., 2 minutes before the shot. Grace leaving her seat at 7:44 p.m. and walking toward the back. 3 people repositioned before the attack, Bianca said. I stared at the screens. Something about the timing felt wrong. Can you show me the full timeline, from when we arrived until the lights went out? Why? I watched. Tiago and I entering, conversations forming, people moving. Then I saw it. There, I pointed. At 7:38, someone moves first, just for a second. They look toward the back exit, then sit back down. Bianca leaned in. Who is that? I zoomed in. My blood went cold. That's Anthony Russo, the man Grace was talking to at the Rosen. Russo's supposed to be retired. He's not retired if he's coordinating an attack. I pulled up the timestamps. He signals first at 7:38. Then Dimitri, Victor, and Grace react in sequence. He's not a suspect. He's the conductor. Bianca stared at the screen. How did you... I spent 2 years watching client behavior in my boutique, reading body language, spotting who's the decision maker and who's waiting for permission. I pointed. Russo moves first. The others follow. He's running this. If Russo's involved, this goes deeper than we thought. Bianca started typing. He has history with the Kwan family, old alliances. Grace Kwan? Yes. The pieces clicked together in my head. Grace, my first major client, the one who'd built me up, referred clients, made me credible, made me perfect bait. We need to tell Tiago, I said. He's still at the club, watching reactions. He'll be here in a few hours. A few hours turned into 6. By the time the warehouse door opened at 2:30 a.m., I'd run through every scenario, every connection, every detail that had led to this moment. Tiago walked in, but something was wrong. His expression was cold, closed. Bianca, give us the room. Tiago, now. She left. The door closed. Tiago stood 10 feet away, looking at me like I was a threat. What's wrong? I asked. I found something. After the shooting, I went through the security office, found the shooter's bag before the police arrived. He pulled out a phone, not his burner, something else. This was in it. He turned the screen toward me, a photo of me, standing outside my boutique. The date stamp read August 23rd, 3 weeks before Tiago's September 16th visit. Underneath, a text, target confirmed. Timing set. She'll bring him. My stomach dropped. Where did you get that? Off the shooter. Tiago's voice was flat. Want to explain why someone was photographing you 3 weeks before I walked into your shop? Want to explain how they knew you'd bring me somewhere? I didn't. The shooter had 3 things in that bag. This phone, a weapon, and a business card. He pulled it out, placed it on the table between us. My business card, Marin & Co., but not my current design. The old one. The design I'd stopped using in April when I rebranded. They found this on him? Yes. Tiago, I didn't. How did he get your card, Elowen? His eyes were winter. How did someone know 3 weeks in advance that you'd be the perfect bait? I don't know. Wrong answer. He stepped closer. Because here's what I'm seeing. Someone photographs you. Someone gives the shooter your card. Someone sends me to your boutique at exactly the right time. And then you, conveniently, end up as my wife, holding the line, gaining my trust, getting close enough to know my movements, my plans, my suspicions. You think I'm working with them. I think someone used you. The question is whether you knew about it. I didn't. Then prove it. He was close now, because right now, every piece of evidence points to you being part of this from the beginning. My mind raced. The photo from August, the card, the timing. Someone had been watching me, setting me up. But how? Then it hit me. The card, I said. Look at it closely. What? The design. When was it printed? Tiago looked at the card in his hand. My business cards. I changed the design in April. New logo, new cardstock. The old ones. I grabbed my purse, pulled out one of my current cards, held it next to the one from the shooter's bag. They were different. The shooter's card was my old design, from over 6 months ago. I threw out boxes of old cards when I rebranded in April, I said. But I gave a stack to one of my first clients. She was well connected, said she'd refer people. Who? I looked at him, at the cold suspicion in his eyes. Grace Kwan, I said. She was one of my first major clients. 15 months ago, March of last year. She commissioned a custom piece, a memorial brooch for her brother who died 8 years ago. She came in for fittings, consultations. We talked about my business, my goals. I gave her 50 of these old cards to hand out. Tiago went very still. Grace referred 7 clients to me. I have the records. 7 referrals means she should have 43 cards left. I felt sick. She's the one who built my early reputation. She's the reason I could afford to stay open my first year. And she had your old cards? Yes. Tiago pulled out his phone, typed something, waited. A response came back. Bianca just confirmed. Grace Kwan has been on Anthony Russo's payroll since March of this year. 6 months. He looked at me. The same month she started cultivating you. Wait, March this year? But she became my client in March of last year. She came back in March this year. That's when she went on Russo's payroll. That's when the plan started. His expression shifted. She set this up a year in advance, found you, built you up, made you successful and credible, then came back 6 months ago to activate you. Why me? Because you're clean, no connections, no history in this world, the perfect patsy. He ran a hand through his hair, and I almost fell for it. You had evidence. I should have trusted my instincts. He looked at me. I knew you were telling the truth. I knew it from the first moment in your boutique. But when I saw that photo, that card, you thought I'd lied. For about 6 hours, yes. Then I remembered how you negotiated with Isabella. How you handled Dimitri and Victor and Grace at the Rosin. How you spotted Russo's signal tonight when no one else did. He stepped closer. You're not a liar. You're just someone who got caught in the crossfire. What happens now? Now we prove it was Grace. And we make her regret using you. How? A slow smile spread across his face. Dangerous. By giving her exactly what she wants. Tuesday, 10 a.m. I stood in my boutique for the first time in a month. Tiago's team had cleared it overnight. Swept for surveillance. Posted guards in the buildings on either side. Installed hidden cameras in 3 locations. One behind the register, one in the back office, one in the fitting room alcove. At 10:15, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Marin & Co. Elowin. Grace's voice, smooth, concerned. I heard about the shooting last night. Are you all right? I'm fine. Shaken, but fine. I'm glad. These are dangerous times. I worry about you. I bet she did. Actually, I said, following Tiago's script, I was hoping to talk to you about something I found. Oh? A piece I've been working on. Custom. Very delicate. I thought you'd appreciate it. Could you come by today? Around 2? A pause. Of course. I'd love to see it. She hung up. Looked toward the back office where Tiago was listening. He stepped out. She's coming. Yes. Good. He checked his phone. Russo started talking an hour ago. My people have been working on him since we grabbed him at 6 a.m. He gave up Grace at 9. Full confession. The plan, the money, everything. Will he testify? He'll do whatever we tell him to do. Tiago's smile was cold. By the time Grace walks in here at 2, we'll have everything we need. Your job is just to get her talking. And if she doesn't, she will. She thinks she's won. She thinks I'm scrambling. She thinks you're a loose end she needs to tie up. He moved closer. She won't be able to resist gloating. You're sure? I've known Grace for 8 years. Since her brother died in a territorial dispute that wasn't my fault but that she blamed me for anyway. She's patient, she's smart, but she's also been waiting 8 years for revenge. His eyes held mine. She'll talk. At 1:45, Tiago's people were in position. 3 armed men in the back office. Isabella and Bianca in the building next door with audio equipment. Luca in the parking garage with an exit route. At 2, Grace walked in. She smiled when she saw me. Allowin, you look tired. It's been a difficult few weeks. I'm sure. She looked around the boutique. I've missed this place. Your eye for detail is still exquisite. Thank you. That's actually what I wanted to show you. I pulled out a wooden box from behind the counter. I found something while I was organizing old inventory. From when you first became a client. I opened the box. Inside, the remaining 43 business cards from the stack I'd given her. The old design, the same one found on the shooter. Grace's smile didn't falter. How lovely, a memento. I thought so too, until I realized something. I held up one of the cards. These are the cards I gave you 15 months ago, 50 of them. You said you'd hand them out to potential clients. And I did. You got several referrals from me. 7 referrals. I have the records. I pulled them up on my tablet. 7 clients from you, which means you should have 43 cards left. But you don't. Because one of these cards was found last night. On a man who tried to shoot Tiago. Grace's expression didn't change. How unfortunate. Unfortunate that he had my card? Or unfortunate that he missed? Both, I imagine. Grace. I kept my voice level. Someone set me up. Someone gave that shooter my card. Someone photographed me 3 weeks before Tiago walked into my shop. Someone who knew exactly how to use me. And you think that was me? I know it was you, she smiled then. Cold. Prove it. I don't have to. Tiago stepped out from the back office. Grace didn't flinch. Tiago, how theatrical. Is it? He walked toward her. Because I've spent the last 4 weeks wondering who sold me out. Who knew me well enough to set a trap? Who had the patience to build something this elaborate? And you've decided it was me? Anthony Russo decided it for me. He started talking this morning, around 9 a.m. That landed. Grace's composure cracked, just for a second. Russo gave you up, Tiago continued. The plan, the timeline, the money you paid him, the shooter you hired, and the boutique owner you cultivated for 15 months just to use as bait. Russo's a liar. He's a desperate man who doesn't want to die. Those are the most honest people in the world. Tiago pulled out his phone, played audio. Russo's voice, rough and tired. Grace Kwan hired me in March, paid me to coordinate Moretti's abduction, said she'd been setting up the boutique owner for over a year. The girl was clean, perfect patsy. All we had to do was send Moretti to her shop, grab him after, make it look like she was involved. Grace's jaw tightened. We're recording this conversation, I said. 3 cameras, audio backup. You've been on tape since you walked in. And we have 3 witnesses in the back, Tiago added, along with my sister, who's very interested in hearing why you've been trying to start a war. Grace looked between us. Then she laughed. You think you've won, but this is bigger than me, bigger than Russo. My brother's death 8 years ago created a vacuum, and I've spent every year since building alliances, making moves, positioning pieces. You were just the opening gambit, Tiago. Then you've already lost, Tiago said, because I'm still here, Alawan's still here, and every move you made to tear me down just proved I was right to be careful who I trust. Grace's smile turned vicious. She'll never be safe. Neither will you. You think catching me ends this? No, Tiago agreed. It ends because I'm about to make an example of you that everyone will remember. Luca and 2 other men appeared from the back. Grace looked at them, at us. You're making a mistake. The only mistake was yours, I said. You underestimated me. Thought I'd be too scared or too stupid to figure it out. But I spent 2 years building this business by reading people, by noticing details, by being smarter than I looked. I stepped closer. You taught me that. When you walked in here 15 months ago and told me I needed to be careful in this city. That not everyone was what they seemed. You were right. Starting with you. Grace stared at me. Clever, but it won't save you. It already did. I held her gaze. Because I'm standing here, and you're going with them. Luca took her arm. Let's go. They led her out. The door closed. I stood in my boutique, my space, my business, my life that had been violated and used, and felt something crack open in my chest. You did it, Tiago said quietly. We did it. No. He turned me to face him. You figured out the card. You set the trap. You got her to confess on tape. This was you. I learned from you. You were always this. His hands came up, framed my face. Smart, brave, dangerous when you need to be. I just gave you permission to show it. He was close. So close I could see gold in his dark eyes. Tiago. You proved it, he said, his voice rough. You proved you were innocent. You proved you were capable. You proved I was an idiot for doubting you even for 6 hours. You had evidence. I should have trusted you anyway. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. I'm sorry. For what? For thinking someone like you could be anything but exactly what you showed me from the first moment. Brave, smart, standing your ground even when every instinct said to run. My breath caught. Eloin. My name was rough in his mouth, raw. I need to, yes, I said. Yes, what? Whatever you're about to ask. Yes. He smiled then, real, devastating, mine. And he kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was 4 weeks of tension and fear and survival. It was his hands in my hair and my fingers gripping his jacket, and 4 weeks of wanting something I'd been too terrified to name. It was heat and hunger and the taste of danger and choice. When he pulled back, we were both breathing hard. That was overdue, I finished. Yes. His forehead rested against mine. I've wanted to do that since you negotiated terms with my sister, like you were buying real estate. That was 5 weeks ago. I know. His hands were still in my hair. Longest 5 weeks of my life. Tiago. Say it again. What? My name. Say it again. Tiago. He kissed me again. Slower this time. Deliberate. Like he had all the time in the world and intended to use it. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark. Hungry. We should go, he said. Where? Somewhere that's not your boutique. Somewhere I can... He stopped himself. Somewhere safe. Your apartment? My people cleared it last night. His thumb traced my jaw. If you want to go there, I want to finish this. This. I gestured between us. Whatever this is. This, he said carefully, is me asking if you want to walk away now. Clean exit, new identity, everything we agreed. Or you stay. We finish cleaning up the mess Grace made, and we figure out what happens after. What do you want to happen after? His eyes held mine. I want you to keep the ring. My breath stopped. Not as a cover, he continued. Not as a contract. As a choice. Tiago, I know it's fast. I know it's insane. But I've spent 4 weeks watching you hold the line. Watching you learn this world. Watching you become someone who could stand beside me and not just survive but thrive. His voice went rough. And I don't want to let that go. That's not a marriage proposal. Maybe it's both. He smiled. What do you say? I looked at this man who'd walked into my boutique 5 weeks ago and dragged me into a blazing furnace. Who'd accused me and protected me and taught me how to be dangerous. Who'd kissed me like I was the only thing keeping him alive. I say let's finish cleaning up the mess first, I said. Then we'll talk about the ring. Fair. Enough. He pulled me close. But just so you know, I'm very persuasive when I want something. So am I. I know. He kissed me again. Quick, hard. That's why this might actually work. The apartment felt different, not just because it had been swept and cleared and declared safe, but because when Tiago opened the door and let me walk in ahead of him, it felt less like a stranger's space and more like somewhere I was choosing to be. Are you hungry? He asked, shrugging off his jacket. Starving, actually. He moved to the kitchen, started pulling out ingredients like a man who actually knew how to use them. I watched him work, watched the controlled precision in his movements, the way he'd rolled up his sleeves, exposing forearms that were all muscle and fading bruises. You cook, I said. I survive. He glanced at me. There's a difference. But yes, I can make pasta without burning down the kitchen. Impressive. Low bar. He put water on to boil. You should sit. You've been standing in heels for... He checked his watch. 6 hours. I looked down. I was still wearing the black dress, still wearing the ring. I slipped off the heels and sat at the counter. Tiago worked in silence for a few minutes. Then, what are you thinking about? Whether this is real. He looked up. The past 5 weeks, I clarified. It feels like I lived 10 years in 5 weeks. And now we're here, making pasta, like normal people. We're not normal people. No, I smiled. We're really not. He finished cooking, plated the pasta, slid a dish toward me. We ate in comfortable silence, the kind of silence that felt earned, built on something more than just survival. When we finished, Tiago cleared the plates. Then he came around the counter and leaned against it beside me. I need to tell you something, he said. That sounds ominous. It's not, it's just... He paused. Grace is being dealt with. Russo's testimony is on record. The families know what happened. My organization is stable. That's good. It is, but it also means the immediate crisis is over, which means the contract is fulfilled. Yes. He turned to face me fully, which means you're free to leave. New identity, clean break, everything we agreed to. You said that already, at the boutique. I know, but I want to make sure you understand. You're not trapped here. You're not obligated. The threat is gone. Grace is gone. You can walk away. I studied him. Do you want me to walk away? No. The word was immediate, certain. But I want you to know you can. Why? Because what I'm about to offer you isn't freedom. It's the opposite. My pulse quickened. I'm listening. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. This isn't the ring you're wearing, he said. This is something else. He opened the box. Inside, a different ring, simpler. A single diamond on a platinum band. Beautiful in its understated elegance. The ring you're wearing was a prop, Tiago said. A tool for a cover story. This one is a choice. I couldn't breathe. I'm not asking you to marry me right now, he continued. I'm asking you to consider it. To consider staying, not as my cover, not as a contract, but as my partner. Partner. Yes. He set the box on the counter between us. I've spent 5 weeks watching you, learning you, seeing how your mind works, how you read people, how you solve problems, how you stand your ground even when you're terrified. Tiago. I run an organization that operates in the spaces between legal and illegal. I make decisions that affect hundreds of people. I deal with threats and alliances and power structures most people never see. He held my gaze, and I do it alone, because I don't trust easily, because I've never met someone who could stand beside me and not be destroyed by it. Until now? Until you. His voice went rough. You walked into a war zone, you learned the rules, you adapted, you fought, and when I gave you an exit, you chose to finish it. Not because you were trapped, because you wanted to. I did. That's what I need. He picked up the box again. Not someone to protect, not someone to shield from this world, but someone who can navigate it with me, someone who sees the threats before I do, someone who can walk into a room full of predators and hold her own. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you a partnership in everything. He opened the box again. Business, life, this world we both live in now, but only if you choose it, only if you understand what you're choosing. Which is? Danger, always. The threat never fully goes away. You'll need security, you'll need to be careful. You'll need to make decisions that aren't easy. That's not exactly a selling point. No, but here's what else you get. He stepped closer. You get to use every skill you have, every instinct, every bit of intelligence and courage and strategic thinking. You get to build something, not just a boutique, though you can keep that if you want, but something bigger, an empire, with me. An empire, yes. His eyes held mine. I'm not asking you to be my wife in the traditional sense. I'm asking you to be my partner in every sense. Equal, respected, feared when necessary. Someone who makes decisions that shape this organization. What about the boutique? Keep it, expand it. Turn it into a legitimate front or a personal passion project. Whatever you want, but it's yours. I won't touch it without your permission. And if I say no, then I give you the clean exit. New identity, new city, enough money to start over anywhere you want. And I never contact you again. You'd let me go. Yes. His voice was certain. Because keeping you here against your will would make me exactly what I'm not. And I'd rather lose you than become that. I looked at the ring in the box, at the man holding it, at the choice laid out in front of me. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why me? Really, you could have. Anyone. Someone who grew up in this world. Someone who knows the rules already. Because you didn't grow up in this world, Tiago said. Which means you see things we don't. You question things we take for granted. You bring perspective that no one else can. That's strategic. Yes, but it's also personal. He set the box down, took my hands. I've spent 8 years since my brother died building walls, trusting no one, keeping everyone at a distance. And then you walked into my life by accident, and you tore down every wall I had just by being exactly who you are. Who am I? Brave, smart, stubborn, beautiful when you're angry, devastating when you smile, someone who negotiates terms at gunpoint and kisses like she's claiming territory. I laughed despite myself. Someone I don't want to lose, he finished. Someone I'd give up power to keep safe. Someone I'd choose over this entire organization if it came to that. You're saying you love me. I'm saying I'm completely out of my mind about you. His thumb traced circles on my palm. And I have been since you asked for a clean exit clause in a contract most people would have signed without reading. That was smart negotiating. That was you being you, he smiled. So, what do you say, Eloin Marin? Do you walk away, or do you stay and build an empire with a dangerous man who's probably going to drive you insane? I looked at him, at the ring, at the life he was offering. Not safety, not protection, not escape, but purpose, partnership, power, a choice to be exactly who I'd become over the past 5 weeks. Not despite the danger, but because of what I could do with it. I have conditions, I said. His eyes lit up. Of course you do. The boutique stays mine, Completely, no interference. Agreed. I want a role in your organization, real responsibilities, not token tasks. If I'm your partner, I want actual power. You'll advise on strategy, operations, alliances. You'll have your own team, and veto power on any decision that affects you directly. I want access to your security systems. I want to know who's watching. I want to be able to protect myself. You'll have full access, training if you want it, weapons if you need them, and Luca on permanent assignment as your personal security. I want us to be honest with each other. No more secrets, no more tests. If you suspect me of something, you ask, directly. Agreed. And same goes for you. If you think I'm making a mistake, you tell me, even if I don't want to hear it. I want my assistant at the boutique protected. She doesn't know anything about this world. I want to keep it that way. She'll be protected, and she'll never know why. I took a breath. And I want a prenup. That stopped him. A prenup. Yes, because if this doesn't work, if I decide I want out a year from now, 5 years from now, I want to be able to leave. I don't want to be trapped by money or assets or legal entanglements. You're negotiating your exit before you even agree to enter. I'm protecting myself, the way you taught me to. He smiled. Slow, dangerous, proud. You're magnificent, he said. Yes, prenup, ironclad. You can walk away any time with everything you came in with, plus whatever you build while you're here. Then I have one more condition. What? You have to actually propose, properly. Because if I'm going to say yes, I want to remember this moment. Not as a negotiation, but as you asking me to marry you, Tiago laughed. Actually laughed. Full and genuine and devastating. Then he took the box, pulled out the ring, and got down on one knee. Alawan Marin, he said, looking up at me with gold-flecked eyes and a smile that was all danger and promise. Will you marry me? Will you stand beside me? Will you build something extraordinary with me? Will you be my partner in every way that matters? I looked at him, on his knee, offering me power and partnership and a life most people would run from. I thought about 5 weeks ago, about standing in my boutique thinking my biggest problem was a late supplier, about how wrong I'd been, about how everything I'd become in 5 weeks had been waiting inside me all along. Yes, I said. He slid the ring onto my finger, stood, pulled me into his arms, and kissed me like sealing a deal. When he pulled back, I was wearing 2 rings, the prop and the promise. You can take off the other one now, he said. The contract's fulfilled. Not yet. I looked at both rings. I'll take it off after the wedding, when this one replaces it. Until then, they stay together. A reminder of where we started. Deal. He kissed me again. When do you want to get married? Soon. I don't want a big production. Just something simple, legal, real. I can get us a legal appointment quickly. This weekend if you want. This weekend. Unless you want to wait? I thought about it. About waiting. About giving myself time to second guess or change my mind. No, I said. This weekend is perfect. Then this weekend it is. He pulled me close. You're sure about this? Are you? I've never been more sure of anything. Then yes, I'm sure. He smiled against my hair. You know what this makes you? What? The most dangerous woman in Chicago. Because I'm marrying you? Because you're choosing to be here, by choice, which means no one will ever see you coming. Good, I said. I like it that way. Saturday, 3 days later. We got married in a judge's chambers with Isabella and Luca as witnesses. I wore cream, a simple silk dress from a designer I'd always admired. Tiago wore a dark suit that made him look like exactly what he was, a man who'd built an empire and decided to share it. The ceremony took 10 minutes. When the judge pronounced us married, Tiago kissed me like we were alone, like we had all the time in the world. When he pulled back, I was wearing 1 ring, the right one. Isabella hugged me. Welcome to the family, officially. Thank you for not killing me when you thought I was involved. She laughed. I considered it, briefly. I'm glad I didn't. Me too. Luca shook Tiago's hand. Then mine. Congratulations, Mrs. Moretti. Thank you, Luca. We had dinner at a private restaurant, just the four of us. Simple, quiet, perfect. Afterwards, Tiago took me back to the apartment. Our apartment now. Inside, he pulled me close. "How does it feel?" he asked. "Strange, good, terrifying, right. All of the above?" "Yes." He kissed me, slow, deep. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark. "We should probably—" "Yes," I said. He smiled, swept me up, carried me to the bedroom. The door closed. 3 months later, I stood in the back office of Marin & Co., reviewing security footage. Not for threats, for patterns. For the subtle tells that meant someone was lying or hiding something or about to make a move. I'd gotten very good at reading people. Allowin'. My assistant knocked on the doorframe. "Your 3 p.m. is here." "Thank you. I'll be right out." I closed the laptop, straightened my jacket, checked the discreet panic button clipped inside my jacket. Tiago's idea of an anniversary gift. I walked out to the main floor. A woman in her 40s was examining the display cases. Expensive clothes, nervous energy. "Mrs. Ashford," I said, "thank you for coming." "Thank you for seeing me on such short notice." "Of course. You mentioned on the phone you were looking for something custom." "Yes, a gift. For my husband. She paused. He's been under a lot of stress lately. Business troubles. I wanted something meaningful." I watched her hands, the way she touched her wedding ring, the micro-expressions that told me she was lying, not about the gift, about why. "Business troubles," I repeated. "What kind of business is your husband in?" "Import-export." "Why?" "Just curious," I smiled. "Come, let's look at some options." I led her to the private viewing room, showed her pieces, made suggestions, and I listened. To what she said, to what she didn't say. By the time she left an hour later, I had her contact information, her husband's name, and a very clear picture of why she was really here. I pulled out my phone, called Tiago. "Hey," he answered. "How's your day?" "Interesting. I just had a consultation with a Mrs. Ashford. Her husband is David Ashford, import-export. The one who's been trying to move product through our territory without permission? That's the one. His wife just tried to use my boutique as a way to open a conversation. She's scared. He's in over his head." "What did you tell her?" "That I'd think about the design and call her next week, which gives us time to decide whether Ashford is salvageable or needs to be forced out." "You're terrifying when you do that." "When I do what?" "Read someone in 60 seconds and turn it into actionable intelligence." "You like it." "I love it." I could hear the smile in his voice. "What's your recommendation?" "Meet with Ashford. He's not malicious, just stupid. Give him terms. If he takes them, great. If not, apply financial pressure. But leave his wife out of it. She doesn't know anything." "Done. I'll handle it Monday." "Thank you." "Elowin?" "Yes?" "I'm proud of you. For reading a nervous housewife. For building something. For using everything you are. For being exactly who I knew you'd be." My chest tightened. "I love you too. Come home soon. I'm making dinner." "You just don't want me to make dinner." "That too, but mostly I want you home." "I'll be there by 6. I hung up. Looked around my boutique, my business, my space that was still mine even though everything else had changed. I'd built this, alone. 2 years of work and risk and careful decisions. Now I was building something else, with Tiago. Something bigger, something dangerous. Something that used every skill I had and demanded more. I was Elowin Moretti now, wife, partner, advisor, the woman who'd walked into a burning fire and decided to stay. And I'd never been more alive. I locked up the boutique, waved to my assistant, walked to the car where Luca was waiting. "Home?" he asked. "Home," I confirmed. As we drove through Chicago, the city that had tried to destroy me and instead made me stronger, I looked at the ring on my finger, the one I'd chosen, the life I'd built, and I smiled. Thank you for watching to the end. If you liked this video, kindly subscribe and tell me where you're listening from. I appreciate all your feedback. The kind words mean a lot. Thank you for letting my stories keep you company. It truly means more than you know.